Well, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you here for this Workshop Wednesday. My name is John Deline, a systems engineer here at Variphy, and I will be hosting today's workshop. We are joined by my fellow systems engineer, Matt Sykes, who will take us through computed ring time and how you can leverage it in your day-to-day reporting. Matt, it's great to be here with you today. How are you doing?
You as well, John. I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm enjoying this space between the holidays, little downtime, a little regrouping time, and time for a webinar.
There you go.
All right, we'll start off with a brief overview of our company and what we do. Next, Matt will present on computed ring time, what it is and how to leverage it. We'll pause for Q&A and get some of your questions answered. During the demo, if you have any questions, make sure to ask them in the Q&A panel in the bottom right corner of the screen. After the Q&A, we'll award one lucky attendee with a $50 Amazon gift card. So hang around to see if you've won. Variphy is the preferred analytics and management solution for Cisco collaboration. We provide industry-leading CDR, UCCX, and Cube Call analytics, customizable dashboards and widgets, remote phone control, change management, and dial plan management. But today we're going to focus on leveraging computed ring time. If you have any questions regarding any of our other features, please feel free to chat them over to me, and we'll take those offline and get them answered for you promptly. One more thing before we kick things off. For those of you looking for a more hands-off Variphy experience, we do offer a managed consulting service. This is a service that provides a dedicated Variphy SE to do all the heavy lifting, giving you and your users a complete hands-off experience. Think of us as an extension of your organization. This service provides upgrades, one-on-one training, report and dashboard building, or anything you need. Your dedicated Variphy systems engineer has you covered. The only thing you have to do is reach out to us. If you want any additional information on our ECS services, feel free to reach out to your account manager and we'd be happy to see if ECS is right for you. With all that said, it's time to pass control over to Matt, and he'll take us into the wild.
Deep into the wild. Okay, good day, everyone. Matt Sykes here with Variphy, and as John just set the table for me, we're going to cover computed ring time that is being released with Variphy 13.1 by end of DECE. So I'm starting here off the Variphy.com website. Just want to make quick mention of this. We have touched on this topic and this release a couple of times over the past 6-7 months. If we go into the webinar section off of our webpage here, so this is the one that we're in right now that I'm going to cover, and we are going to resort this listing here for the videos pretty soon. But we actually did one, Dre did one a couple of weeks ago on the new 13.1 enhancements. Also, I did one way back in April without the logic in my lab, but kind of giving a walkthrough. So if anyone want to kind of see some of the precursory stuff for that, certainly feel free to go ahead and visit this. So what we're going to look at is going to be, yes, the release of there's one more as well. Where is it? Yeah, Dre did this one a couple of weeks ago where we're mentioning, the computed ring time that is new to 13.1 that is a couple of weeks away. Okay, so now I'm going to jump into the analytics module of one of my Variphy labs here. So I'm in the call CUCM, call analytics reporting. I'm in the history section. Now, we've had ring time for some time now. But it is actually a metric that Variphy, the application actually derives itself. It's not provided in the Cisco CDR, where call duration definitely is. So we actually derive the ring time ourselves, and it's pretty simplistic on how we do that, but also there's a reason why we're also coming out with computed ring time, so I'm going to get to that in a moment as well. But the easiest way to interpret this, how we interpret and derive ring time, is simply just the difference between date time origination and connect. So very straightforward here. We can just take a look here. We've got, 8:22 and 50 seconds. The connect was 54. Difference, 4 seconds. Pretty straightforward. So on single leg calls, I mean, that's certainly what we're going to see. The ring time will be definitely valid there, but there's going to be more complex routings and call scenarios within environments. Definitely if we're talking, about maybe hunt groups or even IVRs, auto attendants, call handlers, even hunt group overflow options for routing and stuff like that. Definitely that gets a little more convoluted with regards to how we would the ring time can be perceived, because definitely I know out in the field, one of the a big metric that people are always looking for, whether it's contact center or even from the call manager side of the house, is going to be, you know, average speed to answer, let's say. So how long does it take for, you know, phone calls to ring my, you know, a shared line group or individual agents themselves or whomever or whatever, how long is it taking them to answer that call before that call is getting connected, whether it's by a human entity or even by an automated system like a Unity connection answering the calls after no users have picked up, for instance. So we do have in 13.1 here in my lab here, so we have computed ring time as columns, and we will have it as search criteria filters soon, as well as attributes for it to meld into the dashboard in Widget Logic. So we'll start out with the reporting right now. So I think the ring time is pretty straightforward, but it will get convoluted, and we're going to walk through that in a few moments. But before I jump away from that, let's just, while staying in the history section here, now in my lab, certainly I definitely showcase quite a few things. So I definitely have quite a few columns here that I'm showing out on the results page in the background. However, now in 13.1, I'll just type an easy word in here, we will have computed ring time options. So whether or not we're using seconds or hours, minutes, seconds, certainly we'll have both adoptions there. So for this history results in the background here, I'm just going to go ahead and throw in the computed ring times for now. And let me just grab it from the bottom of the stack here, and I'm just going to move it all the way up to sit right next to the regular ring time that we have had. Now, this is another metric, obviously, that we are deriving, but we're definitely doing it in a pretty slick way, and it's definitely spot on accurate. So I'll just go ahead and say this as is, putting it right next to the ring time so that we can at least all see it visually. All right. So in this example, what I'm keying on here that we're looking at in the results, now I have the new column here. We can probably see that at least the top 5 or 6 calls are all mirroring the 2 different times between the 2. I've kind of done that purposely for this example here. I'm keying off in this history section here. I've only got a little bit of data for November here, but I'm keying off of calls that are being placed by an internal extension of 7109. That's all I'm looking at right here, just for brevity's sake, so that we can all see this and include these date time connects, originations, and terminations for our review of this. Now, certainly I can scroll down this listing, and I would think most of these should be identical to one another by this, because these are single leg calls. Now, single leg calls within Variphy, the existing ring time metric is going to fit the bill there. That's for certain. And the computed ring time, as you can see right next to it, is going to mirror that as well, because there's no because these are single leg calls. There's not additional call legs or complexity in the routings of these straight calls. These are just straight either external outbounds or placed internal calls that are being handled here. So a lot of times these are going to match. Now, definitely in some environment and definitely in other complex routings, we're going to see we're going to see the ring time kind of metric crumble a little bit, and I'll get to that in a second. But at least let me kind of show us one report. I'll pick on maybe an inbound hunter report, for instance. Now, I showcase this style of reporting quite often, as a lot of my peers here do, but very simplistically, very easy. Do I even have it up here? I don't. I don't have it as a summarized metric, but I do have it as a detail entity, and this is what I kind of want to showcase to you real quickly. So let me just jump down into one of these users and look at some call leg that has a lot of related calls. So utilizing the related calls definitely will come from the cradle to grave logic, and that's either from the history section or in one of our structured reports would be this wrench right here to go ahead and turn on the logic for cradle to grave. So if there's additional call legs that are associated to that one search parameter that you're looking for, we can and will include them. That's what this report is doing here. That's thusly why I also have this for this most right column of related calls. Cradle to grave class, you can certainly find that out on one of the other webinars. But clicking on this 5 here, let me zoom in for everyone's eyes, because definitely this will fall off. Of course, a little too far. It's bound to happen. All right, it's refreshing. All right, come on. Let me find what's a little more complex here. Bad timing for this to happen. All right, pardon me. Let's just do this one more time. This is Bill's got one of these guys with 5 that I want to see. There it is. Okay, so here's a good example. Okay, so where ring time, and I don't have the computer ring time in this report here, but I want to show you kind of where the ring time can kind of fail towards the latter half of one of these complex calls. So here's an example of one call that had 5 related call legs to it. that eventually ended up down to Bill Grace. He handled this call. This is the one call that we were reviewing, and then these are the 5 that are related to it. Now, if you'll take a look here in column D, or the 4th column here over on the left here, I have ring time in here. Now, we are, once again, deriving from origination. The difference between origination and connect is how essentially we're making that. Now, if it's an abandoned call or a not connected call, we will be missing the datetime connect field. So in that instance, we will take the difference between the origination and the termination to determine ring time. Okay. Now, in this sequence here, we just kind of look at this, how this call ebbs and flows. So on the 21st of November at 9 a.m.-ish, there was a call that came into my Unity handler, this 8000. Call was routed to contact center, then picked by someone in contact center, and then actually routed into the hunt group where Bill's a part of. But if we look at here, the ring times are going to inflate a little. We go from 1 second to 9 seconds to 11 seconds. We get a 0 to kind of starts to restart. Now, the reason also that we've come out with computer ring time is for this reason, primarily for the cradle to grave and complex routing situations that we identify. Now, whereas Call Manager on a lot of these call records is going to stamp the same date time origination on a lot of these legs. So, for instance, we'll just take a quick look at, oh, this is actually a pretty decent example. So where we would derive between origination and connect to determine ring time, so 36 to 37, 1 second makes sense. 36 to 45, 9 seconds, that makes some sense. However, this is the exact same start date time origination of the first leg that dialed into the Unity handler. There was 6 seconds of positive call duration, while connected to the Unity handler and pressing a menu option to go route it off to wherever. But Call Manager gives us the same exact origination start time frame, timestamp, excuse me. So we still have 9:06:36, and then it connects at 6:45. So yeah, 9 seconds. The arithmetic is right. However, it doesn't take we haven't taken into account this 6 seconds here of the first leg that's already been, I guess, used up or persisted, let's say. So what we're doing with the computer ring time is we're actually changing the logic. We're actually going to, instead of looking at this replicated origination start time, we're going to look at the connect time. So we're going to look at the previous leg's termination time and take the difference between the new leg's connect and the previous leg's aforementioned termination time, and we'll take the difference between those two. So whereas instead of this actually being 9 seconds of ring time to get to this this Unity port, for instance, this actually really should be 43 to 45. This should be 2 seconds of computed ring time, and that's kind of what we're going to cover here. That's really what I'm trying to drive home. So without the ring time, without the computer ring time, certainly a lot of these can be inflated because a lot of these additional call legs in these sequences may very well actually have the same originating timestamp. So this could be a couple minutes off, where down the list of the cradle to grave sequencing, where our derivation of the ring time is going to be off. Once again, the single leg call, single call directions, ring time is still spot on, but the computer ring time definitely is going to help all of the more complex routings, hunt groups, as I may mention, the IBR calls, the menu option handler calls, where there's always more than one, I guess, hop to the call. It's never a straight direct call. So we're going to be able to identify that for you and provide that that speed to answer. How long was the ring time before for my answers, my agents, excuse me, are answering and handling those calls. So let's take a look at some of these. Now I do have in here. Now this one I actually do have the logic turned on. So let me just zoom in a moment here on this HTML. I do have, as we can see here, I do have in the search set summary here, for this hunt group of 6707, I do have total average computed ring duration in here. So this actually is going to be, or could be utilized or viewed as the average speed to answer metric that managers are most certainly looking for, and they have been for some time. So we can easily now add that into the application, in the reports as we can see here, as a search set summary. We can also add it into the grouping section. So within the report, I'm filtering on the pilot number of 6707, and I've asked the application to go ahead and then group the results of these 197 calls by the end users that are actually handling these calls. Now, definitely there's one in the middle here, no associated end user for 12 calls. Makes sense. This is Unity. So I just didn't throw the count number in here or throw the count up here, but this 12 is most certainly Unity Connect, and there's not going to be any users or end users tied to Unity Connect. Can exclude this. However, this would be 185, and then certainly some managers may see 197 versus 185 and think, why am I missing 12 calls? I've just included it for brevity sake and identification and matching. But in the grouping section here, definitely we have access to those computer ring time measures as well that are new. So I've thrown in here where I have total average computer ring duration broken down by each of the individual users themselves, as we can see here. There will be a total summary at the bottom. I do see there's some cleanup that needs to be done. This isn't GA ready just yet, but certainly the logic is here. Just a little cleanup work needs to be done. So we very easily, average computer ring time. There's going to be then tertiary ones as well. So there's going to be an abandoned call average computer ring time. There's going to be connected, not connected. There's going to be originating, dialed, and terminating, as well as combinations of the computer ring time as well. So all that will line up. And now let's go jump into some detail. Let's go look at, pick on maybe this user right here, Marissa. So let's go take a look at her content. Now, same exactly kind of walkthrough as I had my previous report here, not including it, but now here I am. So in the fifth column, of course it did that to me. In the fifth column, and it resized on me as well. The fifth column, I have computed ring time. And now you'll actually see the fourth column and the fifth column are different. Come on, stop doing that. So they are, stop moving. There we are. Okay, so for Marissa, we'll notice that they are different. So why are they different? So once again, these are because if I slide over to the right, there are related calls to these for certain. Otherwise, these would match. This tells me that there's more than one record actually as part of the sequence that we may need to take a look at. But definitely, I think this is definitely going to be spot on, more accurate for the complex calls that are coming into hunt groups. I have picked on in this report a hunt group of 6707 in this example here, but let's just take a look and see why is ring time 45 versus 10. Well, very easily we can see 233.51 minus 233.36 is going to be 45 seconds. Now that's pretty spot on. I'm not pulling out the calculator. I'm going to take it at face value there. But let's slide over to the right. Let's actually look at this call. So there's actually 3 other related calls to this one. So now once again, this, okay, perfect example. Here's an external call that calls in over our SIP route, hits a DN that routes over to Unity. So 6600 is one of this environment's Unity call handlers. Now from there, they select an option. I'm sure if I slide over, there's transfer identifiers and call forwards, sure. And then we can see the calls getting forward, and daisy chaining on before they're either handled by somebody, leaving a voice message, or they're abandoning. But what we're able to see here is actually able to identify the proper speed to answer, the true ring time for these complex routings. So as an example here, the ring time speaks for itself. So 235, 3251, 3336 is going to be 45 seconds. However, the preceding call, though, that rang into the handler where they spent 35 seconds needs to be taken into account. And that's exactly what the computer ring time is doing. So in this leg here, we're going to take the connected time of 233.36 and take the difference between the previous leg's termination stamp. That's 10 seconds right there. So truly this leg in Unity ended at the 26-second mark and then was actually connected to Marissa here at the 36 mark. So truly only 10 seconds of true ring time, not 45. So we definitely know that can be inflated in the cradle to grave logic, and that's primarily the benefit of the computed ring time is going to be for the cradle to grave logic within the Variphy reporting. Okay, so once again, definitely we can get down to the nitty gritty with this, but we do have the high level summarization for that very easily. So once again, it's a very high level search set summarization, but also can be embedded and included within the group section as well, whether we're grouping on entities or some type of device entities or whatever our grouping scenarios may be. Okay. As always, we have custom labels. We do have custom labels, and I do have some here. So let's jump back into my lab here real briefly. Let's go from the analytics module here. I'm going to segue away from the history, and we're going to go into the configure section and slide on over to the right. We'll default to the public search set, but I'm going to slide on over to custom label sets. I built one specifically for this demonstration here today, and certainly I can add in a boatload more if I need to. I just added in one for now for our example purposes. So I threw in, where is it, call stats, I believe. Here we go. So underneath the call stats wrench here, I added in total average computer ring time, and I've specified it to call it average speed to answer. Now, once again, certainly feel free to go ahead and label these as you see fit. I've just chosen this one for now, and I can certainly apply this to the reports. So let's make a little brevity on this big beefy one here, because I definitely have a lot of detail turned on. So I'm going to make a quick copy. Actually, I've already done that, but I might have been a crazy man. you know what, let's trust my gut here. I've made a copy of this report here that we were just looking at, but I've stripped out all the details just so it doesn't take too long to run. But I'm going to run this guy real briefly right now, and I'm going to call upon that label set that I had created earlier. It's called computer ring time labels. I'll add that in there to show an appendix if I need to, I suppose. I know I've only got data from no 15 to 19 in this lab here, so let me go ahead and run this, and we'll take a look at these results in a moment. Now this shouldn't take too much longer. Fantastic. Okay, just the zooming option. So I'll just go ahead and zoom right in here. So as you can see very easily, I swapped out total average computed ring time with average speed to answer. The exact same metric that we had in here a second ago, just a little different look and feel. Where did I go? Computer ring time. I think it was playing with different reports from that earlier, but yeah, this is correct. It is 11 seconds was the average speed to answer on all of those. Also, it's been embedded then now into the grouping section. So once again, we can certainly relabel all these column headers as need be. Definitely no ASA or average speed to answer is definitely a kind of I wouldn't say a hot button word, but a trending word with regards to kind of this kind of productivity that the managers are looking to get analytics on. All right, so there's that. Now I'm going to pull the curtain back just a smidge. Now this is not ready yet, and it won't be by the GA, which is due out in a couple of weeks. But we will most certainly, for the reports, and I'll drill into this one here real quickly, we will most certainly have logic for the filters for that. So at the moment, I don't have it to show it to you, but I can at least mimic it with the ring time. So ring duration or ring time, we can certainly have filters built around this as well. Now, this one certainly is the one that we're deriving between origination and connect or origination and termination, but the computer ring time will fall into the same kind of mechanism. It'll obviously be treated differently on the back end logic, but it will be a valid search filter for us on Rev 2. So Rev 1 is not going to contain this logic, but it will be coming out in Rev 2, I believe, which is a little after the first. So I'm just kind of mimicking here using ring time, but certainly we will be able to go ahead and use computed ring time and then specify within the report, or maybe if you want to do it at the tertiary level with a cradle to grave search set section so that you can actually call upon that. Once again, we're just going to play with ring time, but we'll pretend this is computer ring time. But we'll be able to leverage the computer ring time so we can actually also show for a report example like this for 233 calls. Nice to have the total average speed to answer, but maybe we want to know how many of these 233 calls didn't meet that benchmark of 30 seconds is normally a popular one that I see out in the field. So do we want to key off of computer ring time where the calls are less than or greater than, less than or equal to 30 seconds, or maybe also have a subcategory for the calls that are actually over 30 seconds. So for instance, in this report example here, maybe we have 100 calls that were answered under the 30-second ring time, but then maybe we have the balance of the 133 calls that were not. And then maybe we can take a look and see if there, within your environment, was there some staffing concerns? Were you guys understaffed that day? Was there an outage, for instance? Was there something that was keeping people from answering, I guess, in an ideal amount of time for the management? So definitely a lot of things to identify there. And then lastly, pull back the curtain a little bit more. Once again, this won't be ready for the 13.1 GA either, but I do want to showcase this a little bit. Let me zoom out. Widgets, I love dashboard widgets myself. As if you've ever worked with me or talked to me, you've definitely seen quite a few of mine. This logic is also going to apply to the dashboard widgets as well, as will the labels, which the labels already do. I have something built out here around that hunt group that we were just looking at in that report. I have included the total average computer ring time in here as well. So that was that 11 seconds that we actually saw smack dab right here in this report. So for the group as a whole, the average speed to answer was 11 seconds during this 4 or 5 day time frame for those 233 calls. So the same values are going to appear or can be pulled out or identified and built out in the dashboard widgets as well. So I have all 4 of these widgets pretty much built around the same structure. I have the total average computer ring time sitting in here. As we can see, 11 seconds. All these values are going to mirror one another. I've just kind of just laid them out in a different looking aesthetic widgets here for us. So I have some grouping widgets, I have distribution widgets, I have call volume by time period widgets, as well as concurrency. And as I made mention, we can also easily swap out at what I think I want at the very bottom here as well. Let me punch this guy up. There we go. So if we're looking at maybe even just high-level statistics for a hunt group or an IVR, or an auto attendant, or a shared line group, whatever, and we only want to specify a couple metrics for a manager to be able to identify, maybe the total average computer ring time being one of them. But as an example, for the custom labels, let me just turn those on. I have those built. I can call upon them as always from the dashboard as well. And certainly if I want to swap in that, that average speed to answer, acronym or wording description here, I most certainly may. And certainly I can do that as such. So average speed to answer, the 11 seconds on all of them as we see here. I've got them titled out. Even in the grouping widget, which is going to be very identical to the grouping section within a report, we're going to see the exact same as well. So this section right here, this grouping section, here's essentially what this is. We can pull this out and completely put it into a dashboard widget and even call upon the computed ring time. And if you were unaware of, you can see me hovering over this guy. This one is a custom label that has been replaced, but if you hover over, it will illuminate that it is a custom label for a field. Okay. So as always, I've only thrown in a couple here. I've thrown in average speed to answers. That's a replacement. I've got abandoned average call, abandoned call average computed ring duration. Say that 3 times fast. But we can very easily put those in there, relabel those as need be. The widget logic won't be ready by the 13.1 GA, but it will be, I want to say, probably in Rev 2, just around the corner, maybe just after the beginning of the new year. Okay. Now, I could keep on talking if I needed to, but I think I'm running a little light on time. So, John, might there be any questions or concerns for me from the attendants?
Well, first, Matt, awesome presentation.
Oh, thank
You
you.
definitely excel at this. We do have one question, but if anyone has any other questions that they have been afraid to enter, please get them down in the Q&A panel, and we'll get those answered as well. But one question that we do have is the new computed ring time actually replacing the existing ring time?
Oh, good
Value?
question. Good question. Good question. The answer is no. It's not going to be. I kind of made a little brief mention of it earlier, kind of in the history section here. When I zoom in again, without blowing out the screen here, we're not getting rid of ring time. The computer ring time is primarily the benefit for the cradle to grave and the more complex routings that we can identify and report on. But definitely your direct single leg calls, they're going to mirror each other. So we're not getting rid of it because there's still applicability for this metric as well. So we want to be cognizant that of it, but also know that if we're looking at multi-leg or multi-call sequencing, that the best bet is to lean on computer ring time if a manager is looking for those style of metrics, those speed to answers, those abandoned average ring times and stuff like that. Being as accurate as possible is going to be critical for that reporting, because there's definitely a lot of entities and customers I've worked with where there's bonuses or there's compensation for production of this capacity. So where users are handling all their like 80+% of their call traffic and answering all of those calls within 30 seconds. I've definitely seen those, and the ring time one it will work unless you've got complex routings and cradle to grave. Got more than one leg, chances are you're probably going to want to use computer ring time just because of the inflate that we're going to see, like we were earlier. So whereas which should be 2 seconds instead of clocking as 10 seconds, or some of these can get pretty bad as well. I've definitely been in some environments where the ring duration that has been derived by us is can be a couple hundred seconds, which is inaccurate, where it truly was, where it's, once again, it could be like 10 legs within a sequencing, but unfortunately keeps getting the same start timestamp potentially, so that we can see where that couple hundred seconds of ring time really maybe 20, 30 seconds. So that is definitely huge as far as all of those those needs for the supervisors and managers to kind of to take care of those productivity kind of those perks, those payouts, if you will. So that was a long-winded way of me saying no, we're not getting rid of ring time. It has some application, but the computer ring time is going to be much more polished and leverageable come a few weeks.
All right, that's great. Thanks for providing that additional insight.
Certainly.
If you want to, you can probably stop sharing your screen and
Okay.
hand it back over to me. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, I'd like to take a moment mention our user community, Planet Verify, an online community where you can connect with your peers and expand your knowledge of all things Verify. Plus, you may even leave with a fabulous drink recipe from the cantina. All right, here's the moment that everyone's been waiting for. The winner of this week's gift card is Jonathan Kruger. Congratulations, Jonathan. Your account manager will be reaching out to you shortly to get you paid. Be sure to join us next week when Jim and Mike will shine a light into the shadowed realm of how to install signed TLS certificates on a Verify Windows system. All right. I'd like to thank you once again for taking time to join us today. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Take care.
Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye now.